Welcome to my in-depth breakdown of the Supergirl teaser trailer. Today I'm doing a deep dive into what the trailer actually shows us, covering details that you might have missed. We'll also talk about Superman's role in the movie. And toward the end, I'll talk about what I liked and didn't like about the teaser trailer. So let's get started. At the beginning of the trailer, we see Krypto licking and knocking over a leftover alien beer that Kara had been drinking, which in turn accidentally turns on a record player that starts playing Blondie's 1980 hit song Call Me. Later on, we see Kara wearing a vintage Blondie band t-shirt under her trench coat rather than her traditional Supergirl suit. This scene could take place on Kara's spaceship, similar to the one we see in Tom King's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, in which this movie is based. Krypto then casually walks over and starts peeing on a Daily Planet newspaper with the headline, "Superman saves town from nuclear reactor explosion." In the corner, a much smaller headline reads, "Supergirl rescues cats." And right there, the headline tells us Kara is in Superman's shadow. She hasn't quite found her place as a hero yet, especially compared to her cousin. But that's what this story's about, Kara confronting her origins, her trauma, and stepping out of Superman's shadow to forge her own path. While Superman isn't featured in the Woman of Tomorrow comic, it's very likely that he will appear in the film, possibly in a flashback. Millie Alcock, who plays Kara aka Supergirl, recently revealed that one of her toughest scenes to film was with David Corenswet as Superman, where she had to speak Kryptonian. The fact that the entire scene was in Kryptonian strongly suggests something emotionally significant and deeply tied to her past. Learning and performing an entire fictional language isn't something you do for a throwaway moment. It's very possible this takes place when Kara first arrives on Earth in the pod her father sent from Argo City. It also makes sense that they'd expand on Kara's backstory beyond the comic, especially if the film is diving into Krypton, Argo City, and her trauma. A first meeting between cousins would be a powerful addition, and it wouldn't contradict the spirit of the source material at all. I don't want to get my expectations too high just yet, but this is absolutely something to look forward to. Next, we see Kara waiting for a spaceship at some bus stop, getting picked up by a very tired-looking driver, just like the comic. This sequence really emphasizes how Kara spends her free time. Drink, party, repeat. We see her grabbing someone else's drink at the bar while they're completely out of it, and just like in the comic, it's her birthday. The key difference? In the movie, she's turning 23, not 21. Holding a flaming shot, she tells Krypto, "I, Kara Zor-El, hereby declare that 23 will be the best year yet." And let's be honest, babe, it's not a very high bar to clear, reminding us that so far in her life, she hasn't really done anything heroic or noteworthy. And let's also keep in mind that she's talking to a dog, so it doesn't seem like she has a whole lot of friends. I do think all of this will make a lot more sense once we actually see the film, where Kara is emotionally in her life, and the fact that she has to leave Earth just to get drunk, since doing that on Earth is basically impossible thanks to the power she and Superman get from the yellow sun. Now, even though this film is directed by Craig Gillespie, you can almost spot James Gunn's stylistic notes throughout the trailer. In this bar scene, we see a blend of alien and retro technology. Kara presses a button on a wired remote, and suddenly a very 1970s style disco ball drops from the ceiling. That disco ball feels like such a corny James Gunn thing to do. And honestly, it's a little strange for someone Kara's age, let alone someone from another planet, to have any real connection to that era. There are a few moments in this teaser that feel less like storytelling and more like stylistic preferences tied to Gunn's interests, but I'll dive more into that later on. We then see Argo City. The trailer shows the protective dome that Zor-El, Kara's father, placed around the city, which allows it to break free from the planet. Right before Krypton's destruction, you can see the surrounding structures collapsing as the city lifts off. We also see the shot of Allura, Kara's mother, running with Zor-El from the destruction. And we hear Ruthie ask Kara, "What was it like to lose everything in a day?" And Kara responds, "Krypton didn't die in a day. The gods are not that kind." After Krypton's destruction, Argo City drifted through space, and as it moved away from Krypton's red sun and closer to yellow suns, the planet itself slowly became the cause of its people's demise. We get a glimpse of that tragedy in the funeral procession scene, where the people of Argo City are shown carrying a coffin. Kara was still very young when she witnessed all of this unfold, which goes a long way toward explaining why she's far less naive and much more abrasive than Superman. Eventually, Zor-El realized there were only enough resources left to save one person and chose to save Kara. One of the most striking shots in the trailer is Kara screaming alone in space. It's such a powerful visual metaphor of her pain, something that no one can understand, not even Superman, because while Kal-El is Kryptonian, he was sent to Earth as a baby and didn't experience the destruction of Krypton the way she did. The next sequences show Kara and Ruthie traveling together and getting into trouble with some space pirates. And we can see that even off-Earth, Kara is still quite powerful, as we see her fighting the space pirates, using her heat vision and trying to fly away with Ruthie in tow, but crashing down. We eventually see the film's main antagonist, Krem of the Yellow Hills, played by Matthias Schoenaerts. And this is why Ruthie needs Supergirl's help. She's seeking revenge for the death of her father, and the connection between Ruthie and Kara concerning what they've both lost is the emotional backbone of the story. Now, I'm a bit disappointed with the alien look they chose for Krem's design in the movie. They cast an actor who could have convincingly pulled off the swashbuckling pirate look from the Woman of Tomorrow comic, but instead they went with a style that feels very similar to the Ravagers from Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, this just feels like Gunn meddling with the movie. I could be wrong, but that's how it comes off in this trailer. That said, I kind of understand the reasoning behind it. In the comics, his actions are what make him threatening, but this is a film, and I think they wanted him to look more visually menacing. We also get our first look at Jason Momoa as Lobo, and from what we can see as he walks out of the shadows, he looks absolutely perfect. This will be Lobo's first big screen appearance, and it's highly anticipated. Lobo does not appear in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic book, but I think we were all hoping that he would be a bigger part of the trailer, since he is going to be a key part of this movie. I'm sure the idea was to focus the teaser on Kara and Ruthie, since they are the central characters in the movie, and save Lobo for the full trailer. The trailer ends with Kara swinging around a gun turret and smashing it into a bunch of space pirates, declaring, "Superman sees the good in everyone, I see the truth." And that line perfectly encapsulates the contrast between them. This film portrays Supergirl as a grittier hero than Superman. Someone who stands for truth and justice, but isn't as naturally trusting or as mild-mannered as her cousin. But that's just my take. Let me know what you thought of the teaser in the comments below. Did it win you over, or are you still on the fence? If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more DC coverage, and I'll see you all in the next video.